Over the last little while, we've been talking a lot about youth and faith, belonging, and some of the deeper questions that young people are carrying right now. One thing that has become increasingly clear is that many of these conversations don't just stop with teenagers. They often extend well into adulthood as people continue trying to process identity, faith, belonging, spiritual experiences, and sometimes spiritual trauma. One topic that continues to surface in these conversations is the growing need for genuine spiritual care. So for this conversation, I sat down with my friend Zach Hare to ask two simple questions, but important ones. What are young people and younger adults actually coming to him for? And how can the church respond in healthy and meaningful ways? Zach holds a bachelor's degree in youth ministry from Ambrose University and a master's degree in spiritual care and psychotherapy from Knox College. He is currently pursuing a PhD focused on religious trauma and its impact on patients' spiritual well-being within healthcare settings, with particular attention to how high control and fundamentalist belief systems can mirror patterns found in high control healthcare environments. Zach serves as the spiritual health care lead for Interior Health and is the owner of In Touch and In Tune Counseling. His work integrates psychotherapy, spiritual care, and trauma-informed practice to support individuals navigating complex experiences related to identity, faith, meaning, and emotional well-being. Drawing from both clinical and spiritual care frameworks, Zach is passionate about creating spaces where clients feel safe, feel heard, and empowered in their healing journey. His approach emphasizes authenticity, compassion, critical reflection, and holistic care for the mind, body, and spirit. Outside of his professional work, Zach is married to his wife, Vanessa, and together they share life with their two dogs, Whistler and Duke. He enjoys spending time outdoors, weightlifting, and finding great coffee. This is a really thoughtful conversation, and I think it really speaks directly into some of the deeper things that many people are navigating right now. Check it out. All right, everybody, I'm here with Zach. I've known Zach for a really long time. As I just mentioned in the intro bio, Zach's out in BC and agreed to jump on a call with me. I really wanted to talk about a couple things that I have been seeing, but maybe Zach has been seeing it too, and maybe a different perspective. Zach, I wondered with you in your position, what is like one thing that you're noticing with younger people coming to you for help that might have been in, spiritual trauma or things like that?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think just to summarize it, from what I'm seeing, young people describe it, and everybody has a different way to describe it, but developmental challenges. And what I mean by that is there's current research out there that actually shows between the ages of 7 and 18 is when people develop the most within themselves and within the community that they thrive in. And so for a lot of young people, I'm noticing when they come to me, it's this lack of community, it's this lack of belonging, it's this lack of wanting to be seen and then also to be heard. So I would say that that's definitely the number one thing that I'm seeing. And again, it can manifest in many different ways, anxiety, depression, isolation, substance uses, addictions, like whatever it might be. But I think that's probably the number one thing that I'm seeing is just this feeling that young people have. Maybe they can't say it in words, but it's this feeling of like, I don't feel developed. I don't feel like I was ever given space to really be seen and to be known and to be heard. And so that's probably the number one thing that I'm hearing and seeing in young people.
What type of tools or kind of help do you offer them when someone comes to you with that challenge?
Well, I mean, counseling within itself, like 90% of it, right, is just the relationship that you have with the person in front of you. The other 10% is like theories and structures and all that type of stuff that we use in counseling and mental health support. But probably just to be there, to create a container, just to let them know that you do see them, that you do hear them, that you do offer validation. It's pretty, I don't want to say normal, but to be able to actually have a space for an hour or however long you can, once a week or twice a month, whatever it might be, just to tell someone that you believe them, I think goes a long way.
And are these people coming from like a spiritual background, or are they coming from like a church background or a non-church background? Like, does that play into that at all?
Yeah, it does. So with me and my practice in touch and in tune counseling, we specialize in religious and spiritual trauma. So I'm definitely seeing a lot of people from that perspective. So yeah, I mean, we are seeing young people coming from, not only churches, but from other religions, other different faiths, belonging, spiritual communities. But the number one thing, again, that I'm seeing in all of these people is this sense to be able to develop well is that they need to be able to be in a place where they can be seen, they can be heard, they can be validated, not coming in with agendas, but just to let people know that you really see them and allowing them to have that space to really wrestle with stuff and yeah, just be their authentic selves.
Have you ever found like what the root cause of some of this stuff is?
Well, I mean, I am currently doing my PhD and I'm looking at religious trauma and its impacts on people's spiritual well-being. But probably the main thing.
Can you unpack what that term means? It's a relatively new term that people might not know about, like that religious trauma. Like, can you just unpack that for 2 minutes?
Yeah, sure. I mean, trauma within itself is something that happens to us, right? It's something that's going on within us. And it's a sense of danger, just sense of, harm within somebody's life. It could be through, a war. It could be through a car accident. It could be through any avenue, really. But religious trauma within itself is the systems at play that cause trauma to an individual within a religious system. And so to answer the question, to go back to that, like what's kind of the core central theme to this is I really think it comes down to systems. A lot of people who deconstruct their faith, especially young people, I'm finding that a lot of young people don't want to leave their faith. They don't want to not have a relationship with God. They don't want to walk away from the communities that they once had. But there was something within the system that caused a disruption or an adverse religious experience for them. And again, it's the environment that doesn't allow them to feel that safety to be able to be themselves. So that is what I would probably say. And especially into my research, looking at how does systems really impact people's spiritual well-being.
So if you could have a message to churches or any other kind of faith-oriented organizations or anything of all religion or whatever, what would be like one message that you hope that they know, or what they might be able to do about that?
I would say pour your time and your energy into your kids programs and into your youth ministries. The Sunday service, all that other stuff that we like to do outside of that, I think is important. But again, when you look at the developmental factor of kids and youth, it's between that 7 and 18 years of range, where a lot of these questions, these conversations, the stuff that's kind of going on. So I would say pour authentic time, conversations, and resources into your youth programs and your children's ministries.
So this is just a question that I thought of, is if you could design the perfect kids ministry or youth ministry that helps to kind of combat the root cause of some of these, what do you think that would look like in like the perfect youth ministry or kids ministry?
Yeah, I mean, like, I worked as a pastor in my past life, and I find probably the first place I would start is just to sit on our hands and just really process and think through why we do what we do. I think we're very quick to try and put things into programs, put things into process, right? Measuring, how successful things are, but why do we really do what we do? And the number one thing that I think I've learned as a therapist and in the work that I do now is that you are your greatest tool. when you walk into a room, when you walk into a relationship with someone, you need to be aware of the things that are going on within you and how is that impacting the person that's sitting across from you. So to say what's the perfect program or whatever, I wouldn't even start there. I would start with myself and I would start with my team about thinking about who are we? How do we understand, cultural humility? How do we understand social location? Those are just big fancy terms for saying, how do we recognize ourselves in positions of power and in relationship with other people? That's where I would start. And then I think out of that, I think programs, why we do what we do, what is it going to look like, I think would stem from that.
Zach, that's been a really great insight into your world of counseling and how we might be able to provide this as a resource to churches. Thanks again for joining me today. Yeah, it's been really great.